Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. This is episode 150. I said this at 100 basically a year ago, and I'll say it again. I never thought I'd find a community of people who would want to hear me talk for more than a few episodes, let alone 150 of them. Thank you. And I also never thought I'd be able to consistently on a weekly basis put out content because I've done it for 150 episodes. So that is roughly three years. Yeah. 52 weeks a year. I've done it every week. So we are coming up on my third anniversary whatever, my anniversary of starting this channel, which is awesome. And as a bonus, we have this lovely little box that came in the mail. I have an unboxing video. Now, I already know what's inside, but I will let it hang out there I'll let you soak in on what the mystery could be inside of this box. You can see I've already ripped off my address tag, so I have no problem showing all sides of it. But I will start opening it up. Spoiler alert, it is a follow through of what we discussed last week, which was my cover. So this is book number 3, Saving the Lost. Wow. Yeah, this is looking awesome. I am a fan. So these are the physical copies. I have 5 of them, and these are what I will be selling at AwesomeCon, which is coming up in a week and a half. So, well, oh no, that actually works, I think. Oh man, well that kind of sucks. So at the bottom of these, there's this white line right there. I don't know what that is because it's not on all of them. So it's on 1, 2 of them, which kind of sucks. But it is not on 3 of them. So that's nice. Good to know. Awesome. Oh yeah. So this is I don't want to say final because I'm making slight changes to it, but this is the version of Saving the Lost that I have right now. I guess pre-publication version of Saving the Lost, which is awesome. I'm really excited. I personally think I've gotten better at writing with every book. So the journey the characters take in this book is really quite emotional. There are certain things which have been built up since book 1 over here, falling through. And wow, yeah, the cover looked awesome. Let me show this up here one more time. Oh, Saving the Lost, book number 3. Wow. Yeah, that looks really cool. Right. I should probably do everything. So we have the blurb. In traveling to new times and dimensions, the void has taken victims. Nicole will stop at nothing to reclaim her lost friend. Her, Tracy, Derek, and the rest will discover the past and future are more connected than anyone realized. What will they need to sacrifice to bring everyone home? So yeah, let me describe what the cover is. You have Saving the Lost. It's in blue, teal-ish. In the background, there's a darker blue overtones with a fallen apartment complex. There's also a portal right here, and then you have kind of a girl, a teenage girl in front of it who is following. There's some footsteps on the ground that she is. It looks. I mean, I can tell you right now, she is following them. But yeah, that is the 3rd book, and I am really excited that's here. So let's get some other things out of the way and say hi to everyone. Cool. Richard, thank you for joining in. And we have let's see here. Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you, Richard. Yes, you also brighten up my Mondays. The channel is best part of my Mondays, in my opinion. Thank you, Richard. You are awesome. And let's see, we have Lauren and Nicole, the Writing Sisters and the Blind Sisters, also joining in. 150 episodes. Yes, I am excited too. Now on to 200. Well, I will see you in another year. Yeah, let's see how things go. I think next week might be. I'll get into it at the end of this episode, but let's describe it as typically a boring conversation, but one which is really important to have. Spoiler alert, it is taxes. And let's see here. Jordan, you are awesome. You're here. Cool, cool, cool. Thank you for joining me and for being a part of this journey. You are absolutely right. And it's really cool that you are here and hanging out on a Monday night. So, might be weird KDP. Yeah, it is a weird KDP production issue. They might have just misaligned the cover picture that I provided them. Gloss is boss. Yes. How did I come up with the title? Well, I will say that there's a lot of meaning in the title. And I don't really have a good process for how I came up with it. I think I was in the car with my wife and we had about 4 hours and she had already alpha read the book. So we were just kind of tossing ideas out there. And Save and Lost is the one that stuck. Sorry, give me 1 second. There we go. Got the trash over here. Yeah, Saving the Lost is the one that stuck. And it's really cool because that I had already basically written the book at that point. I mean, the book was already done at that point, but I took the title and used that to build in not an epilogue, but kind of something that happens at the end. So there is now a lot more meaning than saving the. There's a lot more meaning to the word saving the lost in how I finish out the book. And yes, Balticon is in May. So first I have. Oh, let me see if I can do this right. First I have AwesomeCon in 2 weeks, which is in DC. Then I have an April 22nd ish Kensington Row Bookstore, which is in Silver Spring area. And then we have Balticon. So I have some. I'm getting my face and my books out there this year, 2024. Let's go. I may be able to correct that. I mean, it most likely is a printing problem, is what we're talking to with the cover. And I guess unless I decide to return these, it's fine. But it's a small little thing on the cover, something that hopefully won't be present in the future books that I print. So given that it's not, I know for a fact that it's not on the images that I provide them, 3/4, so 60% of the books are perfectly fine. So 40%, that sucks, but they're still, I guess I should probably open them up just to see how things look on the inside. Yeah, so Ben Pick, Saving the Lost, book 3. We have a lovely copyright page, some dedication, table of contents, blank page, because I want to have, I intentionally included a blank page between the table of contents and the actual story because I like the way it looks better. And yeah, I mean everything the text looks great. The I guess formatting, so it's about an inch away from the edge of the page. Nothing seems to have been run over. So yeah, everything looks great from that standpoint. So yeah, it looks like it's just a cover printing issue. And self-published Andy. Andy, thank you for joining in. I'm glad that you're here. A page to sign. I typically sign the first. So sorry. Richard is asking if I included an extra page for a page to sign. I didn't do that intentionally. I usually just sign the first page on the inside of the inner cover, which has. I can actually show you because I have a book now. I usually sign this page where it says my name, and then we got the title. So it's this first page right here. I don't want to bend the binding too badly, so I'm trying to be careful with it. That's the page I usually sign, and Yeah, so the fact that there's an extra page between the table of contents and the first chapter, that's just my personal preference. And yes, it was another Reedsy editor triumph. I am a fan of using Reedsy, and I was able to include that extra page. It's just a blank chapter in there, and then I kind of remove it from the table of contents. So that is how I did that. But you all weren't planning on being here for this unboxing, so let's get on to tonight's topic of publishing. Well, I'm a new writer who is self-published, and those feel like synonyms. Anyways, I, if you can't tell, just finished my third book, and it's ready to go out there into the world. There are hundreds of small steps that got me there, but these are the big ones. You might say they are the must to do tasks. As a little background, I published my first two novels using Ingram Spark and Draft to Digital, and then Amazon KDP. And that led to some problems with recent changes in Ingram Spark, where I needed to include a discount for mass market, even though I don't actually sell to mass market, which would have driven the price per book up and ultimately forced me to raise the price of my book. I didn't want to do that, so I shifted out of Ingram Spark and Draft to Digital to now be exclusively with Amazon KDP. Whew. So I'm skipping a lot of the initial checklist stuff, and rather than go through the drafting, editing process, I'm starting with a fully finished and edited book. So your manuscript, it might be a docx, it might be a PDF, I think is the standard format. There's all kinds of different things that you can do to upload into KDP, and whatever tool you're using, Ingram Spark actually has the editing. It actually has an editing tool within it, so that way you can see exactly what you are publishing. Here, I had to upload. I had to go from Reedsy, generate the PDF, generate the EPUBs, and then import them into Amazon KDP and review them manually to make sure that they all work. But for these steps, for these 5 steps, I'm skipping all that and assuming that we have our EPUBs. They've been professionally edited. Our PDFs, same thing. You've looked them over. You've added in extra blank pages if you wanted to manually separate the table of contents from the actual content of the book. All of that, I'm assuming that we're done. So these are the 5 most important checklist items in order to publish, at least in my opinion. Number 1 is the sanity check. I use Amazon KDP, and their settings haven't changed since I've been using the tool, minus the fact that they now have an AI check. So you have to hit a mark that says this. I didn't use AI to generate my content, which is pretty easy because I don't. So it's kind of just a default yes. And it also hadn't been that long since I switched everything from Ingram Spark and Draft to Digital into exclusively Amazon KDP. So everything I went through was the same with books 1, 2 versus book 3. And uploading book 3 was, like I said, more or less the same. The steps I had to go through, the information I had to enter, it all looked the same. So I actually had 3 tabs open between book 1, book 2, and book 3, and I made sure that everything was exactly the same, minus the small differences between like the title and the publishing date and that information. So I did a sanity check to review. Sorry, I got a hair in my eye. Anyways, where is it going with that? Right. So we want to make sure that everything is still within the tool that we're publishing as we expect. So if it's been, a year from now, 2 years from now, Amazon KDP might change what we need to enter, the information or how it looks. And so we need to ideally review it before we upload. So we kind of do like a draft run, which these tools are very good at doing because you are able to save things as drafts before you hit publish. And so that way you can review and ensure that it's all that we expect. So do a sanity check to review the date for the book that we want to publish. And one really annoying thing here with Amazon KDP, which wasn't present in Ingram Spark, kind of. I'll get into that in just a second. But one annoying thing here is that the ebook can be pre-ordered, whereas the physical copies can't. Now, I've seen people get around this by publishing their paperback novel early. So for right now, as an example, my book is set to publish on March 30th, and you can get the ebook, pre-order it now. But if you don't have the option to pre-order the paperback, which means that if you do buy it on March 30th, it's going to take some time. And I don't know how effective it is if I were to publish the paperback today. So that way you could order it now and it will probably get here by the third. It will probably get to you by the 30th. I don't know how effective that is for Amazon's metrics and rankings. Now with Ingram Spark, you could kind of do the same thing where it allowed you to pre-order the paperback version of the book along with the ebook version. That's all pretty straightforward. But I noticed that they didn't, even though we could pre-order the books through Ingram Spark, they didn't actually go through process of printing them and shipping them out until day one. So it's the same end result. The only difference is that we were able to pre-order paperbacks. Now, of course, Ingram Spark has a massive delay between when they give you metrics anyways. So it's like 30, 60, I think it's 60 days after purchase is made that actually shows up in your report. So you don't actually see your pre-orders and they don't print them early so that they'll arrive, say, on the date that the book is being published, or at least be sent out on that date. So they'll get there shortly thereafter. So as far as I can tell, there isn't really a benefit to pre-orders in Amazon in Ingram Spark, except for the fact that that is an option. So that is a very long-winded question, very long-winded statement to say you can pre-order EPUBs, but there isn't really a good solution to pre-order the paperbacks. And wow, everybody is chatty in here. And yes, I am in squirrel mode right now. It is a Monday. It was a tough day at work, and my brain is just all over the place. So, Mama Maggie Ward, thank you for joining in. It is awesome to see you here. RC Scott, always a pleasure. Rock on. Yes. Thank you. And also, yes, ideally review it. Yeah, goes without saying, but I will say it anyways. I mean, everybody here obviously knows we all are in a pretty tight-knit AuthorTube community, so reviews go a long way to supporting a book, especially when it's new, and those absolutely help with helping a book get found. So after reading a book, just toss it a review and let people know what they can find within. Have you ever bought a proof copy? Yes. The cool thing about Amazon KDP is that these are technically author copies. You can't get the book, but you can't order the book through Amazon normally, but I can get author copies of them. With Ingram Spark, they were explicitly labeled as author copies, I think. One of the services I use definitely had them marked as author copies prior to production, I think. So prior to publication, I think they have a mark on them that says these are author copies. But afterwards, then they just become regular author copies, and you can perfectly, you could sell them if you wanted to. Don't check my math on that one because I'm likely wrong. But I swear I do have author copies somewhere. And they are, they say like not for resale or whatever. So it depends on the tool that you're using. But yeah, it's definitely a strong idea to get at least one copy prior to publication that you can review. So if they don't offer proof copies, try and get one. If they only offer author copies, that would be nice because then you could later on sell them if they pass your standards. And I mean, with the books I have right now, the little white line on the bottom, so it's clearly a printing issue. I'm still okay with selling those. Yes. Proof copies explicitly, you cannot sell them. They say not for resale on them. Author copies are a little bit different. So technically, this is an author copy. It doesn't say not for resale on it. It actually has the ISBN on the back. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with me selling this. It's just I was able to get it early, technically before it's officially published. If I'm wrong, then I'm sorry I'm giving you bad advice. But that's how I understand it. So I see no problem selling those copies I have. But in general, yes, if you have if you have proof copies, you cannot sell them. Oh boy. So I am catching up on all the things. When is it being released? March 30th. And in fact, I will be having a book launch party on that day, noon. So yeah, I hope to see you all there. And yeah, that Maggie, that is the annoying part where paperback shipping takes 3 or 4 weeks plus printing process. So there were people who I don't think got my second book who pre-ordered the paperback because that was an option with Ingram Spark, but they didn't get it for 2 months because there were massive delays. This book came out in December, and there were huge backups of um, actually making the books, which is not what you want. Ideally, if you were pre-ordering the book, they would know how many to make, or they would make them on demand, and then they would ship them out on the day of. But you know, I don't own Ingram Spark. I don't own a publishing company, or a book manufacturing company or whatever. So, I can't really say what's fiscally makes the most sense. And Eloise, thank you, thank you. Actually, I finished your book as well. Give me 1 second. It is. I'm sorry. I'm trying to type very quickly. I'm trying to split my mind in multiple places. It's Amazon themed, and so if you like Percy Jackson, it's a little bit more mature. Let's see here where I don't even know how I would find it quickly. Maiden of Artemis, that's what it's called. Thank you. And there we go. Maiden of Artemis. This is Eloise's book. It came out a month ago, maybe. I don't know. Time is relative. And it was a lot of fun reading it. So I enjoyed it. It's a fun one. There is some explicit content in there, so do be warned. But it is kind of, well, I don't know if I can say that. It takes place in ancient Greece. There are lots of gods influencing people, and it is a woman's journey to find sanctuary. That's what I'll say. I actually didn't know more of the backstory until I started reading other reviews, and then it all started to make sense. Like, I kind of thought that's where the storyline is going in future books, but it makes sense. Yeah, it's not my book. I don't want to go too far into what I can and cannot say, but it was a lot of fun to read. So I'll give it a thumbs up. And yes, not YA, mature. Oh, making review rounds. Interesting. Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Sorry, I'm checking up on all the comments. You can order author copies without the band if you schedule your paperback release on KDP. Sure. I mean, I got my author copies without the band on them, so I am good to go. And yeah. So I think you have to set your book to be published, and then you can get the author copies with the proof of it. So maybe that's what I did. Maybe that's what I did to resolve me not having author copy covered on the front. Is that technically my book is in pre-publish, or I hit publish, and it's just waiting for March 30th to roll around. Okay, cool. Well, yeah. So there you go. Eloise can tell more about her book and can know where to draw the line. Because again, I don't want to spoil anything, so whatever she says is true. Yeah, still made by the end of book 1, Richard. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely comments in the chat. And let's get back to tonight with the checklist. Sorry, I'm all over the place. It's a fun night. I got my books here. I'm excited, so I'm trying to keep things up. Anyways, I also didn't set my paperback to publish now, so that way you could get it basically on the official publishing date, because I didn't want to have multiple publishing dates for the same book. So if you want the physical copies, I'm really sorry. It'll be much more delayed. And I only mentioned here to give you an option. And I do know that saying the publishing date to the same day will cause large delays in readers receiving those physical copies. It happened to my second book. I think somehow the first book was actually a relatively okay timeline. I think those books somehow were made either very, very quickly or they arrived within like 2 weeks, which is actually pretty good. But at best, the book will be set to print. My understanding is that at best, the book will be set to print on that publishing date or whenever you buy it. And then it'll take 5 to 10 business days to physically make the book. And then it needs to be mailed. So there are massive, massive delays, assuming that there aren't, as Maggie mentioned, significant paper issues and further delays in their own in across Amazon in general. So hopefully readers will be waiting no more than 2 weeks to receive a book, assuming there are no bottlenecks or printing delays. Realistically, though, it's closer to 3 weeks or a month. I'll be doing something small to mitigate this for fans. I'll have a few physical copies at my book launch. So they'll be mailed the Monday following my party because it's a Saturday. And well, by the time I finish, the USPS will be closed and it's Sunday that won't be open. So I'll have to mail it on Monday. But back to sanity checks. I'm going to circle this whole thing around, rein in my thoughts, and get us back on track. So you want to verify those ISBNs. Make sure that the one associated with the EPUB is assigned to the EPUB. Same thing with the paperback. Seems pretty obvious, but I made that mistake. And hopefully you purchase the ISBNs. You can do that through Bowker is the service I use. You get 300 for $300. You get 10 of them. Maybe, I don't know. It's been a while since I bought them. Or I think you get like, it's weird. I think there's like, it's like 30 for 1, 300 for 10, and then like 100 for $500. So there's really weird numbers that are associated with it. I don't have them memorized, but if you buy in massive bulk, if you buy like 100 ISBNs in massive bulk, you get a huge discount. 10 isn't so bad, especially since I'm still slowly, I've used up to 6 of them, so I still have room for 2 more books in theory. But we also want to review the blurbs in the services, like in the listing itself and on the back of the book. So you want to make sure that this right here matches what you have in Amazon KDP, or if there are spelling mistakes in either place, that you fix both of them, ideally to be the same, so that there isn't a difference between your physical copies and what you have online. And we want to make sure that the version that we upload is the correct one. I have a final draft, final draft, final this time I'm serious, final version 10.0, and 2 final 2 furious. I have all that on my computer. You get my point. And an author's worst nightmare is uploading a draft version instead of the fully edited manuscript. So avoid doing that. Or if you do, check to make sure that the version you're uploading is the one you think. I usually add in a date too, so that way I know exactly when that version was created or edited or whatever. And that way I can absolutely be certain that even if there was some kind of mistake, that I'm using at least the latest version of the manuscript. And that's what I'll use as kind of like the gold standard. So to that end, if time permitting, reread the manuscript and clean up any lingering errors. I'm currently going through it right now. I have a month to spare. I might even be able to do it twice. We'll see. March is going to be a little bit crazy. So I am 40% of the way through my read through and edits. First, I'm going chapter by chapter, rereading everything. Then I'm making edits on the computer, and then I import everything into Grammarly to make sure that the edits I make don't introduce new problems in. So I kind of have the reading is a safety check to make sure that I didn't miss anything. The Grammarly is a safety check of my safety check to make sure that I didn't screw up. Yeah, I've learned through prior books that the last round of revisions can add mistakes, which were quite embarrassing, even if they were relatively small. Specifically, there was a hanging S at the end of one of my chapters, and that's likely because I was trying to hit Control S to do a fast save, but didn't hit the control button. So there was just an S at the end of a chapter. So it was chapter ended, period, and then just an S right there, which is always fun. Worse is that I know that I fixed that change, but between the multiple versions, the typo was reintroduced to my day one version of the paperback. And I'll get more to that on a later point, but I was so confident that I resolved the problem. And I did, but then I undid the fix. So again, double check everything because yeah, there's a lot of versions that we're working with, and also back up everything because that way if you do lose something, it minimizes the damage that gets done. So KDP, Ingram Spark, and Draft to Digital made very simple, easy to follow steps for how to upload and publish. There were some errors with cover page sizes, but the tools are designed in a way to largely be error proof, or they'll give you specific errors to get you to resolve them. In that version, all I did was I think I made a change to the text, so might have been like an extra page in the book, so the cover page no longer was the size that it needed. Put the cover page back into Photoshop, exported it into the exact dimensions that they requested. It was all resolved. Now, when I have multiple publishing services, I use multiple windows and tab between each to ensure that they contain the same information. So that is how I did my sanity check. It's kind of a mass of way too many windows open on the same time, but it works for me. Might not work for you, but yeah. Thank you, Richard. We all have one of those. Final _final parentheses 1 _ final parentheses 2 doc X. Yeah, that is what I have within my writing directory. Kind of. I mean, I have my laptop right here, and I have a workstation upstairs with 2 monitors. One of them is kind of busted, so I probably should replace that. And then the other one is usually connected to my work stuff. But it's all, yeah. It is complicated. But everybody has their own process. What's the plan for the next book? How many books will there be? The plan is that I'm waiting until after the 30th to even start really working on it. I'm going on vacation between now and then, so I'm going to try and compile my 100 pages of notes into note cards that I will then use to plot and map out and outline that book. I have some ideas where I want to go. Ideally, there are 6 books in the series. We'll see. That number is very subject to change and depends on where I want to take the characters. I have loose plans, and sometimes it works. Feels also like it's a moving target, so we will see. I also think it might take me about 2 years to write book 4 and get ready to be published. So there we go. And I don't know what formatting software everyone uses, but I learned the hard way to check the settings on what page chapters start. Huh. Settings on what page chapters start. I don't understand that. But it might be like I don't know what you're talking about, but it might be, I'm assuming it sounds like there might have been some table of content errors, or when you exported it, the pages didn't line up with what they were. Oh, it might be like the copyright and the table of contents kind of counted as their own pages instead of pre-pages, so it might have thrown off the entire everything after chapter 1. Yeah. Okay, I see. So she means whether chapters start on an even left or odd right page. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. We released an omnibus. I actually haven't considered an omnibus. I wasn't planning on it. These books are already a little bit thick. They're 95,000. Combining 3 of them into one would be, well, close to 300,000, but it's actually closer to, I guess, 270,000. That's a thick book. I might be easier to do with ebook than the paperbacks. And the first 3 books do make a good stopping point based on the themes and how the characters evolve. So that is something interesting to consider. But number 2, marketing. That's the thing I'm terrible at. Get everything lined up and well documented. So mark dates in your calendar for when book promotions are going to take place, and put notes to yourself within your calendar for social media posts to make. If you want to preload all that stuff, you can do just cut and paste. So this is this is what I want to post to Instagram. Here's the exact thing I want to post. Here's an image I want to use, or where the image is stored, and get it all lined up so you don't even need to think about it. Because at least for me, the more I have to think about something before I post on social media, the more likely it is that I'm going to make a mistake, even if it's a typo or if I just outright say the wrong thing. Now, this is great for record keeping and to determine the effectiveness of each marketing technique. I found some of the marketing tools, cough, cough, Facebook, that had no discernible difference, and usually don't want to use those services a second time. In terms of marketing, we can also schedule a book cover reveal and set up book launch parties, kind of like what I'm doing within this channel. By the way, my book launch party for book 3, Saving the Lost, is coming up on March 30th. Shameless plug right there. So I hope you join me then for a celebration party and a few prizes. As I mentioned, I'll have updated copies of my latest book, and hopefully they won't have the line at the bottom because I really want them to be the best possible cover. And specifically for that launch, specifically as a to-do task for us for our book launches, text everyone, even your uncles, friends, roommate from college, and remind them to join the watch party, or better yet, order our books. Am I doing any more IRL events? Yeah, I have 3 planned over the next between now and Memorial Day. So we have AwesomeCon, we have Kensington Bro Bookshop, and we have Balticon. And I'm probably going to try for some others. There's some local library events that I went to this last year, and I don't know. I'll try to get into those again. On to number 3, ARCs. That stands for Advanced Review Copies. If you have an advanced review copy team, organize their efforts. If you don't, then call in some favors to fellow authors. That will magnify any efforts we've done on social media, because it's not just my posts, which can be easily ignored, but it's sort of like cascading outwards, where you have multiple people posting about Saving the Lost or whatever your book might be. And that helps the algorithms to make things more likely to go viral. I don't ever think that any of my posts will ultimately go viral, but it does help it get outside of my immediate circle. And getting those early reviews, as we mentioned, reviews, that helps push the Amazon algorithms and make our books more likely to be found. So the idea with advanced review copies is that on day 1, there will already be reviews, or you'll ask them to post within the first few days of publishing. So that way, people who might have found your book while you're, striking while the iron is hot. So from when you publish, that is the most likely time for people to find your books, just through the nature of how KDP promotes things and the momentum that we've hopefully built up to the book launch party, or before, or shortly thereafter. And so if there are reviews in there saying, hey, this book is awesome, you should check it out. Here's why. Here's what the characters do that are really cool. Here's that Ben Pitt guy. He's awesome. He's such a great writer. You should check out all of his works. Things like that. Anyways, that momentum carries marketing and sales a long way. So get a team together and market our books. Now, number 4, check everything. I'm serious here. That's why I'll say it again and repeat myself from point number 1. There will be mistakes in book configurations and typos in the books themselves. So double check everything. Try and find out early on if there is a tiny white line at the bottom of a book cover indicating that there was some kind of printing issue. If possible, see if you can return the books. If not, work forward to make sure that the publishing service doesn't make the same mistake again. And the last step, breathe. No matter what, our book is coming out. In theory, assuming that you already pushed that publish date. So, worst case, there's a mistake, like an obvious typo, or a character name that was in the wrong place, or a plot hole. As terrible as that feels, nothing is set in stone. So breathe, fix the mistake, and republish. There was nothing stopping me from recognizing that there was that hanging S, fixing it, and republishing. Now, I did have a choice when I did that. Either I could wait a few weeks for my paperback sales to plateau, or I could have fixed it on day 1, thus making the paperback version not available, on the first day of publication. I opted for a combination. I think I waited about a week and offered everyone I knew who ordered physical copies to get free ebooks. Now, no one says that we're stuck with the first version of our novels, and my favorite traditionally published books have author preferred editions, which fix mistakes and streamline other details. And for me, like I said, I was not able to fix the paperback version on day one, but the ebook I did fix. And so if you got that book, if you pre-ordered it, by the time you got the ebook, it was fixed, I believe. If not, the ebook can also auto update, which is really cool. So if you're lucky, then the ebook readers might also have their books set to sync, in which case they can auto update, and that typo was more or less gone. So a lot of people didn't actually realize that there were mistakes. Now, obviously, with the paperback, if you ordered it on day one, those errors will remain. There's nothing I can do about that. Sort of tracking down where the books went and replacing them, but that's a huge invasion of privacy, so I didn't do that, and I wouldn't even really have the capability to do so. But that can also be a fun Easter egg. So I know that when I mentioned here that I was going to fix typos, I observed a slight bump in people who wanted my mistakes in the story, which I find a little bit weird, but teach their own. And there are all kinds of readers. So those are my checklist items. And now I'm going back to weeding out the mistakes in my pre-published version of Saving the Lost. If you want, feel free to pre-order it and see whether there are any day one mistakes on March 30th. And let's see, here we go. I'm checking out the chat. So yeah. Yeah, take photos. I plan on taking them photos at AwesomeCon. AwesomeCon is a huge it is largely a comic book convention. They have a whole bunch of speakers, people coming in, famous people. I did the whole spiel about who's coming in this time around. I think it's the crowd from the Star Wars group. So Hayden Christensen, Ming-Na Wen, and a couple of other people in the various Bobas and Ahsokas, and I'm sure there's voice actors for Bad Batch too. I also seen Stan Lee. Stan Lee was there a few years ago. Obviously, he's not there now for obvious reasons, but I got to watch him speak, which was fantastic. And yes, that is awesome. Also, in terms of marketing, I guess, make friends with people with newsletters and do book swaps. So when Richard's book 2, The Color of Money, Price War 2, The Color of Money comes out, I will also be showcasing that in my newsletter. And it looks like Richard will be helping with Saving the Lost in his newsletters. And surprisingly, yes, you can subscribe to my newsletter. I'll be coming out with another one on the 3rd. So that's just over a week away. Bad at math. I think it's Sunday. Sounds about right. And I'm surprised you didn't post your own newsletter, but thank you, Richard, for showcasing mine. Never remember to send out arcs, but I will take them and read them. Sure. Yeah, one of Richard's big things is newsletters. Do your checks weeks before? Yes, absolutely. Do not leave it until 72 hours beforehand. I think no matter what, my paperback is blocked on the 24th. So even if I make changes to, I don't think I can make changes within KDP after the 24th. So it's about 6 days to a week before the publishing date. I seem to remember that. So, excuse me, I have just under a month to get all my changes in and hopefully get the best version of my book out there. The best part about being an indie author is being able to erase mistakes in 72 hours. Yes. But you have to choose when those 72 hours are because, like I said, there's a blank space where I can't make any changes to the paperback version of my book. And I think that's 3 days in advance. 6 days in advance. So the 24th to the 30th, I can't make any changes. For the ebook, I think it is 72 hours where I don't think I'll be able to make any changes to the ebook come, I don't know, the 28th of March. Yeah. Also, give them the time to make it to the printer. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Richard, thank you for giving me the spoiler. Unfortunately, Stan Lee is no longer with us. That was a few years back, but like I said, I'm really glad I got to watch him speak because he was pretty cool, and so much of modern pop culture has his roots in him. I know there's controversies over what he actually created versus what he might have borrowed from other people or what he might have taken credit for. But the fact of the matter is that through his fantastic marketing skills, he was able to single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, but he was able to just spread so much comic book love and get people hyped up for Fantastic Four, for Spider-Man, for all of the Marvel heroes. And even he was so good at marketing that it even spread to their distinguished competition, whatever you call it, whatever Marvel people call DC and vice versa. So, ooh, I have your launch on. Sorry, I'm speaking for Maggie. I have my launch on March 20th already set, but the deadline is March 13th for print and March 17th for the ebook. Yes, always upload final copy early. I completely agree. Cool. I really hope you have a book launch party. If you have one, just let us know. If not, maybe we can come together and do something. I should be able to do quick mental math. I think the 20th is probably the middle of the week if the 30th is Saturday. So it sounds like it might be a Wednesday. But that's a really good idea. So Richard puts version numbers in his paperback interiors just in case. That makes sense. And I think you can do like first edition or whatever in there. I don't know. I kind of opt. I think I just have first edition as a blanket thing, even after I update them. I should probably change that, but it's in the copyright page. I usually just skip over that. So, Richard, that's a great method of tracking the versions that you're using. I don't use the tools as well as I could. And with that, I'm sorry I've been going for long. I'm sorry I've been rambling. There's just a lot of feels tonight. So, I am Ben Pick. Thank you for joining me in Running to Write. Let me know in those comments what you have on your publishing checklist. And I post my running and writing progress and thoughts on Instagram and Twitter as Running to Write. So be sure to follow me and join in with just saying hi. And don't forget to sign up for my Running to Write monthly newsletter. The next one's coming out soon. I think Sunday. Let's say Sunday. And I'll be looking for advanced review copy team. So feel free to sign up for my newsletter for more info, or directly reach out to me if you are interested in getting Saving the Lost maybe a little bit early. Who can say? I'll be sending you out ebooks early. So, that's, I'm saying that here. And so, yeah, definitely DM me if you're interested in being an advanced reviewer. And see you next time. Until then, bring a systematic process to the last step in publishing our novels until we decide to update everything post-production. And coming up next week, well, I'll spoil it. I am going through the process of taxes because in order to do AwesomeCon, I needed to sign up and register within DC for various taxes of business. I'm not a lawyer. I kind of fumbled through the process. I probably did things wrong in a way that somehow came out right. So I'll be going through those mistakes. I'll be going through the process I did. And sure, this only will apply directly to those selling in DC, but I'm sure a lot of other local states have similar methods of registering ourselves or the event that we're going to as vendors. And so the process that I'll be sharing next week, even though it's unsexy taxes for writing, it could still be useful for you. We've been mentioning Balticon, and I know they do something similar, although I don't think I technically did. I just tracked everything on my own because I never got the tax ID number I needed. Probably shouldn't be admitting that here, but I have everything tracked down so that way I could report it, how many books I sold, and a lot was actually done through my my reader anyway, so text was already extracted from it, but I'm tracking all that manually, and that way I was able to go through it during the current tax season. But if you can't tell, there is a lot. It's dry material, but it is still very, very helpful and educational. So hopefully you'll join me next week. And yeah, LLC taxes give you a nightmare, give you a migraine. I'm sorry. No, there's no sexy taxes, but at the same time, I'm not a tax sheet. I keep accurate records of everything. I have the exact number of books sold. I have all of the services I purchased for Balticon last year, the table, the hotel, the everything, the bookmarks, the magnets, all of it. And yeah, so that I use for taxes this year. Everything I'm going through will be for taxes next year. So technically I won't know whether or not I did things right or wrong, but I have already learned that I did part of it wrong, although I kind of still landed on my feet. And what I did wrong is still a good backup plan, and I can use it for next year if what I submitted doesn't come in time. So, all that to say, taxes suck, and I hope you have something you can use for a publishing checklist. And I will see you all next week. I am rambling too much. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.